Rain lashed the armored glass like thrown spears. Inside the black SUV, President Ibrahim Traore's hand tightened around the silver ring in his pocket. A silent vow from his father, a reminder of the cost of sovereignty. Abuja, the ECOWAS summit. A gathering meant for unity, now a stage for naked ambition and brewing conflict. The tarmac buzzed with dark SUVs, military escorts, tight-lipped officials. Everyone knew. Unity was a word stripped bare. In the Hilton suite, whispers caught fire. Nigeria was pushing renewed sanctions on Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. The air didn't just feel tense, it felt brittle, ready to shatter. Traore's foreign minister leaned in, voice a low growl. "They call him the boy with a gun, sir. Say he doesn't belong at the table." Traore didn't flinch. His gaze held steady on the window, looking past the rain. "Then we build our own." He moved through the lobby with unnerving calm, flanked by Defense Minister Kasum Koulibaly and Economic Advisor Ibrahim Balam. Delegates from Guinea and Mali offered subtle, knowing nods. The Nigerian contingent avoided his eyes, faces set, a verdict already delivered in hushed tones. A red carpet, a gauntlet of forced smiles and limp handshakes. Cameras flashed. President Bola Tinubu stood at the center, a roaring fire of laughter among his sharp-suited entourage. He offered Traore no greeting, no glance. Inside the chamber, nameplates gleamed, but beneath the polish, the atmosphere was sharp as a honed blade. Traore took his seat. Burkina Faso's flag stood tall beside him, a silent sentinel. He leaned to his aide, his voice a near whisper. "This summit won't be remembered for its speeches, but for what is revealed." The storm had begun. Protocol and power choked the air as the first closed session opened. Tinubu adjusted his glasses, leaned into the mic, a smirk playing. "In times like these," his voice warm, condescending, "we must remember governance isn't a game for boy generals playing dress-up. Leadership requires age and wisdom." A few controlled chuckles rose from Nigeria's side, a stifled grin, a muttered, "Ouch!" Ibrahim Traore remained utterly still, his hands clasped, steady as bedrock, his face unreadable, but his eyes met Tinubu's, calm, direct, unwavering. For a flicker, Tinubu hesitated, reaching for a glass he didn't need. Traore said nothing, not a word, not a twitch. But his silence was a physical weight in the room, pulling focus, stealing the air. Mali's Aimigi Goita leaned back, disdain clear on his face. Guinea's Madi Doumbouya narrowed his eyes. A subtle, profound shift. Respect was being tested. After the session, Koulibaly walked beside Traore. "He wants a reaction," Koulibaly muttered, his hand near his belt, a soldier's readiness. Traore's answer was quiet. "Let him talk, General. We don't need microphones. We need a clear objective and decisive action." That night, while guards stood watch, Ibrahim Traore walked the Hilton corridors. His steps were silent, deliberate, his mind a forge of strategy. The insult wasn't just personal. It was a gauntlet thrown at every soldier fighting for African dignity. He bypassed his own floor, heading instead to the lower suites occupied by Mali and Guinea. Behind closed doors, free from prying eyes, maps were consulted, strategies debated. In Suite 409, Goita's handshake was firm. "Tinubu wants to play chess," Goita said, eyes glinting pragmatically. "Good. We've changed the board." Doumbouya, his voice resonant with quiet pride, added, "In Guinea, we don't argue with arrogance. We build stronger than they can tear down." They weren't just talking. They were charting independent routes, sketching alliances on paper, laying foundations in the dark. As the city slept, the groundwork for a new axis was completed. The main chamber, flags, lights, anticipation, cameras pulsed. President Ibrahim Traore took the floor, his voice steady, measured. "Our sovereignty is not open for debate," he began. "It is the bedrock. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. We are not breaking from Africa. We are breaking from a system of control. The words were sharp, undeniable truth. Heads turned. Skeptical delegates leaned forward. Then from the center, Tinubu shifted, a dismissive hand slicing through the air. "Let the adults talk," he said with a smirk. A collective gasp swept the room. Delegates froze. Cameras zoomed. Aides looked down. On the Nigerian side, a solitary, uneasy chuckle died instantly. Traore paused. Recognition. This silence would be his weapon again. He closed his binder slowly, nodded once, returned to his seat. His minister's fists clenched under the table, but Traore's face was a mask. No fury, no pride, just absolute stillness. For a long, electric second, the room held its breath. Journalists scrambled. ECOWAS staff exchanged frantic glances. In that silence, the ground shifted. A change not of policy, but of perception. When Traore sat, it wasn't surrender. It was profound discipline. Every leader present was forced to confront the truth. Who truly embodied the maturity the moment demanded? Outside, the footage went viral. Africa watched. The Hilton ballroom shimmered for the banquet. Gilded menus, soft music. The seating was a statement. Traore was placed at the periphery, far from Tinubu's table, surrounded by foreign power brokers. Message: isolate, undermine. Tinubu's loud laughter boomed as he toasted a French delegate. "Burkina Faso will come around," he projected. "They always do when the money dries up." Traore remained silent. He spoke quietly with South Sudan's representative about borderless energy, African lithium, with Guinea-Bissau's finance minister sketching payment systems free of the CFA franc. No grand speeches, just measured words, sharp minds. "True alliances," Traore murmured, "don't need an audience." He watched Tinubu pose with IMF officials. The flash captured Tinubu's grin, but not the forces gathering in the shadows. As dessert was served, Traore rose, a polite nod, and left without ceremony. His team followed, no fanfare. But at 3 tables, ministers watched him go, their gazes silent, weighing, reconsidering. Influence isn't loud, it's quiet, persistent. And that night, the coldest thing wasn't the sorbet, but the space between the noise and true power. 8 a.m. While agenda papers were still warm, Traore called an emergency side session. Unexpected. Location: a modest room. Impact: immediate. By 8:45, it was packed. Guinea, Mali, Niger, Chad, Algeria, South Sudan observers. Nigeria's delegation arrived late, sent by a wary Tinubu. Traore stood at the head, a simple folder. "Yesterday," he began calmly, "I was interrupted speaking of sovereignty. Let action speak." He opened the folder, sliding 3 signed pages. Presidents leaned in. Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea. A trilateral mineral trade agreement, binding, immediate, outside ECOWAS frameworks, lithium, gold, phosphate routes, shared infrastructure, defense cooperation, local processing, no foreign intermediaries, no CFA dependency, no Nigerian interests. Not provocation, Traore stated. Protection. Africa stops asking permission to trade with itself. Nigeria's trade minister froze. "You didn't consult ECOWAS." Traore met his gaze evenly. "ECOWAS did not consult us when it sanctioned our survival." A heavy silence. Minutes later, word reached Tinubu. He erupted from his lounge. "Excluding Nigeria?" he roared, fury twisting his face. "You think we will stand by? We will block every route you draw on your paper within a month." Traore met his gaze, unreadable. Koulibaly's hand went to his side. This wasn't just trade, it was an economic war declared. One senior delegate from Senegal, watching from the observation room, slammed his hand down. "This is economic revolution." Late afternoon, a hastily arranged press briefing. Cameras swarmed. They expected banalities. They got history. Side by side, Traore, Goita, Doumbouya, Chiani. 4 uniforms, 4 nations, 1 microphone. "We stand not in defiance," Traore began, voice cutting through, "but in dignity." Goita continued, "Today, we announce the Sahel Sovereign Alliance, independent of ECOWAS, rooted in cooperation, not coercion." Gasps. Journalists scrambled. ECOWAS staff exchanged frantic whispers. Nigeria's delegation recoiled, some exiting sharply. Ministers clutched earpieces. Real, a pact, a framework, no foreign oversight, no asking Abuja or Accra for validation. Then Traore stepped forward, voice steady, absolute. "If unity means obedience," he said slowly, "then it is not unity. It is control masquerading as brotherhood." The room froze. A reporter dared, "President Traore, are you leaving ECOWAS?" He paused, a small, knowing smile. "We are not leaving, we are simply walking, and we are not asking for permission." Chaos erupted. Behind sealed doors, the ECOWAS private session was volcanic. Media shut out, just leaders and the weight of it all. Tinubu trembled, eyes locked on Traore. "Who do you think you are?" he roared. "You undermine this union! You insult ECOWAS!" Silence. Ministers dropped gazes or stared. Traore's voice was even. "I am a soldier," he said, the quiet statement filling the air, "who became president, not the other way." Chairs creaked. Acknowledgement passed through the room. Tinubu stumbled back. "You don't understand diplomacy." Traore's reply, soft, lethal. "Number Y understands sacrifice. That is the difference." The session continued, but the balance had shifted. Tinubu expected dissent. He found unwavering defiance, in quiet, steely restraint. Power doesn't shout, it waits. The summit ended. Papers shuffled. Headsets clicked off. A weary moderator, a single microphone, still live. President Ibrahim Traore leaned to an aide unaware. His voice, calm, deliberate, slipped into the quiet room. "Africa doesn't need dominance," he said softly. "It needs dignity." A technician froze. The sentence echoed through still-connected earpieces. Someone hit record. Within minutes, the clip escaped. By nightfall, it was everywhere. Dakar students projected it. Lagos young people flooded Twitter. Accra radio played it. The moment struck a nerve. Not who said it, but how. No speech, no podium. Truth overheard. Ouagadougou crowds chanted his name. And in Nigeria, the reverberations were loudest. In Lagos, students debated late into the night, the viral clip playing on phones. "Tinubu has power," one tweeted, "but Traore has vision. Who do we follow?" Traore issued no comment, no clarification. He didn't need to. The mic had revealed character. Across the continent, something stirred. A dangerous thought. Maybe the future doesn't belong to the loudest voice. Maybe it belongs to the one that speaks last. Before sunrise, Traore left Abuja. No sirens, no statements. Just a black SUV sliding from the Hilton garage, headlights cutting the mist. His cabinet rode in silence, the weight of the past 2 days heavy. As the convoy reached the airbase tarmac, Traore turned to his ministers. His eyes were clear, not triumphant, just steady. "History isn't written at the podium," he said quietly. "It is made when no one is applauding." The plane door closed. No photographers. No headlines marking his departure. But far beyond Abuja, the world reacted. An op-ed in Ethiopia. The man who didn't flinch. Rwandan military academies analyzed his restraint. Nigerian talk radio asked if their president had been outmaneuvered by a man half his age. It wasn't the words Traore spoke that resonated across the continent. It was the way he walked away. True power doesn't linger. It reshapes the room, then departs, leaving behind a silence. Quieter than before, but fundamentally, irrevocably changed.